Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 3 of Flipping Fit Mama Balancing Family, Business, and Success. On today, we're going to talk about the act of balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship. So, although I do have several male followers and maybe viewers, I should say, not necessarily followers on this channel just yet. However, this is specifically it's dedicated for moms or mompreneurs, I like to say. However, there may be some tips for the guys. So don't fast forward or skip the video just because it says mompreneurs. Gonna be some good stuff. So being as I call it, a mompreneur is obviously it's at my core because as a mom and an entrepreneur, learning to balance the two has over the years been a bit of a task, but it can be easy. It's just about it's more so going through the different experiences and learning what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So today I'm going to give you guys 5 tips that have helped me to balance motherhood and entrepreneurship, aka being a mompreneur. The first thing is time blocking for productivity. For me, I've struggled with time management for several years. And I didn't necessarily realize how important implementing time management was until I became a full-time entrepreneur. You know, when you are working for somebody else, the time management piece is, quote, typically it's integrated into your schedule, right? So you're starting at a certain day, you're taking a certain time of day, you're taking a break at a certain time of day. You have, typically, depending on what your job is, you have specific tasks that have to occur during certain times of day as well. So, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to do those things on your own. And so if you don't have strong time management skills, you can definitely, it's going to show. It's going to show in your business. I'll put it that way. So for me, what I like to do, I have a schedule. I have similar as to what I did when I was in the corporate world. You know, I work typically Monday through Friday. And we would rotate Saturdays. So if we worked a Saturday, usually we would be off one day during the week. So as an entrepreneur, as a mom first, but an entrepreneur secondly, I do have a weekly schedule. And so typically what mine looks like in terms of time blocking, it's Monday through Friday. You know, I start my mornings early. I still have kids that get off and have to be on the bus stop at 6:45, 6:45. Therefore, our days are early, which is good. So I typically get up and I start my days just in quiet. So whether that means reading, meditating, praying, just before the kids even get up. And then we have, there's a workout aspect. So whether it's, you know, walking the neighborhood, actually working out, but having those blocks for self, which is another key point that I'm going to touch on, but having that time for self is super key. So once the kids are off, I have work blocks. So for example, on Mondays, 9 to 3, those are my work hours. And it's funny because I actually have I have a working do not disturb, which for entrepreneurs, I highly suggest. Because we get this, I don't even know what I want to call it, but other people that know that we may work from home, or we work in an office, or from their perspective, we have control of our work schedule, more control than the typical, I should say. They will, if you don't set those boundaries, they will, most, you know, friends, family, they're calling, they're texting, they're sending memes, and I am guilty as well. However, I do have, I do have a do not disturb that comes on during the hours that I'm working. And the only there are very few people that can get through that barrier. I have to have that in place because that to me resembles when I was in corporate. You couldn't have your phone. It's way different than what it is now, but you could not have your phones on you. You could not be sitting, working with clients while you're on your phone, or, different things that we would do. And so, that's kind of the mentality that I take with my business is during these work hours, if it's not an emergency, it's not happening. Or if it's not work related, it's either work related or emergencies between the hours of 9 and 3, period, point blank. That's all it is. And now, people that are close to me, they understand that. They know that hey, you can text me during these hours, but when I have my do not disturb on, you will not. You won't get through, unless it's business related or unless it's an emergency. So I think, again, time blocking for productivity is huge. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. Again, take the same mentality that you would with, if you are transitioning into becoming an entrepreneur or something that you're considering. That is one of the key tips. Same thing that you would do, working for someone else when you have, essentially, they may not call them time blocks, but it's what it is. Like we would have in the morning, 9 to 11, we're making calls. And then 11 to 1, we're break and we're giving, relieving other people for break. 2 to 4 would be, another activity. So that is key number 1. I think key 2 or tip number 2 would be setting clear boundaries. And that actually goes into what I was saying with the do not disturb alerts. So setting clear boundaries, for me, what that looked like was, again, just notifying friends and family, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to be as available maybe as I have in the past or as I am on the weekends. Once you set those, the time blocks, then you follow up with boundaries. And then not only setting boundaries, but speaking to those that are close around you so that they understand. They understand, hey, between these hours, I'm not going to be available. I won't, you can text me, you can call, you can whatever, but this is what you are to expect. And so that way you're setting expectations, so there's not any confusion, I think that's good, like I said, within the friends and the family. I'm trying to think. So going into number 3, I would say would be one thing that I have been super, super bad about: mom guilt. So overcoming mom guilt with mindset shifts. So if you are a mom, and I recognize this probably more so when my kids were younger, because I am a giver and I've always considered others first and put self last. And so when you become a mom, that naturally happens. If you, let me rephrase, for most people, it naturally happens. So if you weren't already like that, becoming a mom makes you, it makes you like that. And so I know a lot of people go through, the mom guilt. And so what I would say in regards to that, I had mom guilt even when I was in corporate. And for me, the reason that it was like that was because I would work. Let's see. So I would start my work day about 8:30, which means all kids were dropped off, daycare, school, and I would be, in the office ready to work by 8:30. So 8:30, and then we didn't close. The last job that I left, we didn't close until 6. And so the earliest I would get off during the week, maybe like 5 or 5:30, but usually we're talking 6:30. And then sometimes even later, if we had, just discrepancies in the branch, it would require for certain people to stay over and audit and do different things like that. So let's say, leaving 6, and then my commute to the kids was, at that time it was about 45 minutes, and then it was another 45-minute drive back home. And then so you're looking at, at that point, like maybe 8 p.m. So then we have dinner, we have homework, we have baths, and literally trying to get that done within an hour, and then going to bed, myself. It was rough. And so I did have a lot of mom guilt because I felt like I won, like after school activities and, things that I feel like I was trading off to be in the corporate world. I remember, my kids, they were always in different activities. So they were volleyball, basketball, orchestra, acting, all different kinds of, extracurricular activities. And I vividly remember having to barter with coworkers to get time off of work to make it to my kids' events. And that was another thing that pushed me into full-time entrepreneurship. I was like, there's no way, time, you can't get the time back. So if you're missing, all of these important, milestones and adventures and things that the kids are doing in their lives because you're at work, I naturally felt some mom guilt. And mom guilt is not limited to one aspect or another. I remember talking to my sister several years ago, and I was like, every time I go to the store, like shopping, like, clothes shopping, I said, I buy everything for the kids. I never buy anything for myself. And it wasn't because I couldn't, but it was like, no, I'm good. I don't need anything. And the reality of it was that I did, but it was, I believe it was part of that mom guilt trip I can't talk, mom guilt trick, the mentality. And I would just buy, whatever for the kids, whether they needed it or not. And right or wrong, it just, it is what it is. But I think some of that overcoming as an entrepreneur, overcoming that mom guilt is one, prioritizing ourselves. Because if we're not the best person, the best mother, the best business owner, the best spouse, the best whatever, how can we be, if we're not the best us, how can we be those other, play those other roles to other people, aka mom? So we have to, as a business owner, the same way that we poured into our employers, companies that we work for, showing up on time, going above and beyond, doing, following the rules, creating, raving fans out of, your customers. The same things that you are doing and implementing into the corporate world should be the same thing that we're doing in our businesses. And in doing so, that is going to help us. It's going to help us to ultimately. It indirectly, well, for me, indirectly helped with the mom guilt, because I became a better business owner. And once you are in a role where I don't want to say you do put more focus on yourself. Like you have to do those things, like implement those things into your business, so that in turn, you're able to share the joys, or the fruits, the fruits of your labor. So, mom guilt is definitely a real thing. And I would, if I had to venture, I would say probably 90% of moms at some point have went through a bout with mom guilt. And so, don't be hard on yourself, but also know that the hard work that you're putting in is to better you first, so that you can be a better mom. So that is my number 3. Step number 4, or tip number 4, is building a strong support system. 2 super key things that I always speak on as it relates to entrepreneurship would be systems and support. Of course, there's a myriad of other things that are equally important. However, these are, for me and for most people that I know, these are like in the top 5, because without systems and support, you're only going to be able to go so far. It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. And so the support system is super, super, super key. And it's something that I've always implemented, whether it was in corporate or whether, in any facet of my life, is having people, not only having, because you just don't want an audience. Support is not necessarily an audience, but you want to specifically or especially in, the business realm. Support is people that speak your language. They understand you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. They understand your vision, your goals, so that they in turn can pour into you and you pour into them. I have a group of women that I call my business besties. All of them are business owners. All of them, all of them are mothers. All of them are just really bomb women. And when I say support, we literally will I have a couple that we do accountability calls. So one in particular, every week, we have an accountability call and we say, hey, what's going on in your business? What do you need help with? How can we, look at these goals and, help one another to make sure that they're reaching the goals? It's a really good thing, because one thing that you, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, will experience is a period where you feel like nobody understands you. You feel alone. Sometimes you feel like you're going crazy. So in those moments, especially, it's good to have people around you that truly understand your business. I don't want to say understand your business, but understand you as a business person. They speak your language, so you can talk to them about goals, and you can talk to them about, whatever it is that you have on the horizon. And if it's somebody that's in your field, your same field, even better, because you can go into more detailed conversation. And these systems are not only support, but in many cases they're motivation. It's love. If you have genuine people around you, they will advocate for you. They will speak, as they say, about you in rooms prior to you even entering. And so I'm thankful for those people that I have in my circle. And that is one of, actually, if I had to place the tips that I've given thus far in order, this would probably be number 1. That's how important it is to have a support system around you. So I guess that brings me to the final tip, which would be prioritizing self-care and avoiding burnout. Kind of goes for me back into the mom guilt. Self-care. So when you are a mom and you're running a business, I'm going to be the first to say that in many cases, self-care is negated because it's not a priority for many. And I definitely went through and still sometimes go through different periods where that is the case. When my kids were younger, they're now kind of all scattered out, but when they were younger, for some reason, I feel like I had more time for the self-care. And I don't know if that was just due to my schedule, because as an entrepreneur, we don't work 9 to 5. We may work 9 to 9. We may work 9 to midnight. I kid you not when I say there's been weeks where I've worked 80 hours. But I would not trade it to go back into a 9 to 5. I love being an entrepreneur, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs. But self-care is something that we have to keep up with. And when I say self-care, it can vary from one person to another. So it doesn't necessarily always mean hair and nails. It can mean you going and you taking a day out of the month and you go and just spend time loving on yourself and just, no distractions, just away from the busyness of the world, because we tend to get busy. If the self-care for you does mean more of an aesthetics, then by all means, build that into your budget. When you are going and you're creating a monthly budget, a quarterly budget, however you do it, monthly is usually preferred and what most people do. But build that into that. It ties into, and this is so cliche, but if you look better, you feel better. You feel better, you do better. I don't know why it is that way. And if anybody thinks otherwise, please let me know. But I know this to be true. I've had this conversation with countless people, and they've all said, yeah. Sometimes it's a situation where you don't necessarily realize it until later on, and you're like, yeah, I got mine. It's almost like the thing when you see the men coming out of the barbershop and the whole transformation where they go from, I'm gonna say scraggly, I'm not going to use any other words, and then it's almost like a whole, like a 180. And that kind of, when I think of that phrase, when you look better, you do better, or I'm sorry, when you look better, you feel better, you do better. That's kind of what I think of. So again, if self-care, if that's what it means for you, by all means, don't have no guilt. If it's in your budget and you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul to get your hair done, your nails done, whatever it is that you need to feel good about yourself, do it. And don't worry, about the naysayers. I promise, people's, like, you can see their attitude, like even just coming out of like the beauty shop chair, like you see when they get up from the chair and just the glow that they have on their faces sometimes. So it's definitely key. Again, if aesthetics, if that type of thing is not what you feel is self-care, find what works for you. Maybe it's a massage. Like I said, maybe it's getting away just for a day, and it doesn't even have to be out of town. Maybe it's like you go to a hotel for a day and you just chill. You turn the phone off and you watch TV, and maybe it's a situation where you are you're a mom with young kids, and self-care would be somebody coming in to cater a meal to you. Just find what it is and make sure that you don't avoid that, because that will definitely lead to constant work, and not taking a break for self-care will lead to burnout, no doubt. Will absolutely lead to a burnout. So that is my 5th tip. I think I'm going to end here. I'm so thankful for everyone that has followed thus far. I know the topics have kind of been all over, but there is some some meaning behind it. So yeah, today is Friday. I've actually got a Girl Scout cookie booth that I've got to go and prepare for my daughter. And I have committed, and we're going to commit to 2 more, and then hopefully Girl Scout cookie season will be over. But yeah, so if you guys, have any questions, any comments, definitely leave them in the comments. I got to get used to this YouTube. It's okay, y'all. We going to grow together. But I see a lot of good things coming from this. So if you enjoyed this, my only ask is that you comment and or share. Alrighty guys, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you in the next video.